I'm asked many times, why are you called Honest Abe?
Yeah, why is that?
Honest Abe, and
We take it for granted everybody knows Honest Abe. But why?
I must tell you, there were 3 or 4 incidences where I was named Honest Abe, but I want to go to the first one. It was in a school in Indiana, and you may notice some antlers here, and you think, why are they here? And these antlers, if you can picture a scene in a classroom above, these antlers, such as these, were above a door. Now I must tell you that the school, I did go to school about 2 days a month, and the schoolhouse was a log cabin, no windows, no desk. We sat on the dirt floor, and there was only a door, but the teacher was Caleb Hazel, and the teacher went out for a recess one day, and there were about 10 of us boys and girls, and these antlers are up there on the door, above the door, and I was the tallest in the class. I was so tall, and the other boys and girls said, Abraham, jump up there and see if you can grab those antlers. And for a moment I thought, no, I don't want to do that, but they kept edging me on to jump up there, and I thought, well, let's have a little fun. Well, I jumped up there to grab those antlers, and as I did, I grabbed both of them, and they broke. And I came down, and now my heart was broken because I knew that the teacher was going to be quite upset because he bragged about them all the time. So the boys and girls, they said, Abraham, go back and sit down. We won't tell. We won't tell. And so I jumped back and I sat down, and all of a sudden it was quiet, and they said, no, we won't tell. And for a moment I thought that I could get away with it. But I knew that this teacher, Mr. Hazel, was going to be quite upset. And that when he came in, he was going to really, really be mad. And I remembered that my mother had said, Abraham, always be honest. If you're always honest, you'll never have to remember what you said. Now my heart was just beating real fast, and I knew he was going to come in, and I thought maybe I could get away with it, but he came in and he looked down. As he came in, he said, who broke these antlers? And my heart just sunk to the floor, and I put my head down and I raised my hand as I had remembered my mother was deceased then, and she said, always be honest, you'll never get in trouble. But that was my first recollection of being scared of I was going to be get in trouble. And the teacher came over, and I heard his steps just a pounding on the dirt floor. And he said, Abraham, look up at me. And I looked up, and there was almost a tear coming down my eye. And he said, Abraham, because you were honest, you are not in trouble. And I remember the gleam that came across me, that I was seeing my mother, what my mother had meant. And because I was honest, he said, you are not in trouble. And from that day, when 11 years old, the boys and girls called me Honest Abe, and it carried on into my politics as I ran as a politician, as a state legislature later in Illinois. And I became known as Honest Abe, and it stuck with me ever since.
Wow. We found an honest lawyer and an honest politician all in one.
Yes.
We are back. 2 questions I know that they're wanting me to ask, because I know my peeps here. Why the beard? You said that people noticed the beard and thought it was a little unusual even for the day. I know I have a big nose and a big chin, so I use it to hide my chin. So why your beard?
Well, you know, sometimes things come as a surprise, and many do not know that I did not have a beard at all of my life up until I was running for the presidency. And a little girl by the name of Grace Bedell, 12 years old, wrote to me in the White House and said, Abraham Lincoln, I believe that you might get a few more votes if you maybe kind of grow a few whiskers. And I read that, and I thought, you know, these ladies, they have great discernment. Even a 12-year-old girl. I believe that she might be right. Now, ladies could not vote then, but they could influence their husbands. And I thought, I looked in the mirror and I thought, this face could use a little improvement. So I started growing some whiskers. And do you know that I won the presidency by just a few votes? And I believe that that letter that was written to me, had I not grown those whiskers, I very well could not have, may not have been the president of the United States. So I grew those whiskers then, and I kept that beard until I was assassinated.
So he won the presidency by a hair?
Yeah, yes, by a hair, if you will.
Yeah.
If you
And
will.
the last question, definitely, and then I definitely want to know what this is, what's under the hat?
What's under the hat? Well, I must tell you that when I was in those lawyer years on the 8th District Circuit, I rode around on my horse, and I didn't have much room to carry things on my horse when I would ride from town to town. So I kept my notes, being a lawyer, in my hat.
There you
You
go.
see?
That's pretty
so
smart idea.
I thought the best place to keep it was in my head. So I kept it in my head right there, and you have it. Each different case that I would have,
That's amazing.
I would keep it right in there. So that is true.
Guys, I bet hardly anybody knows that answer. So what is this?
What that is, Mr. Ferris, in 1909, it was determined that we should put an American on a coin. Now, before then, we had buffalo and we had Indians and the like on coins, but we had never had an American on a coin. So it was determined at my 100th year birthday, 1909, remember I was born in 1809, that let's put Abraham Lincoln commemorating his 100th birthday. So they put me on a penny, making me the first American and a first president to ever be put on a coin. So that's
awesome.
what that penny is about. Of course, that's much larger than the penny that you might have in your pocket, but that's what that is for.
Well, thank you, President Lincoln and Mrs. Lincoln.
My pleasure.
This has been a great joy.
I would like to say one last thing, maybe if I could, to the audience, that we've said a lot of things that you might forget, but remember that scripture, Matthew 22:37. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love thy neighbor as thyself. All the laws of the prophets hang on those two commandments. Those were the words that my mother taught me, that stayed with me the rest of my life, that carried me through all of my life struggles. So I must give you those two scriptures that were so important to me, and I hope that they can be important to you and all the audience as well.
Thank you very much.
Honest Abe Lincoln, he set the people thinking. He wouldn't lie to you and he wouldn't lie to me. There was trouble, he was tried, but the Lord was by his side. The tall American was a man of destiny.